Good morning, so we've been listening to you.
Really?
We know you saw the potential of the iPad Pro and how much more it could really do.
You're gonna fully unlock the iPad?
Yes, we're gonna take it to the next level and make it even thinner.
Wait, that's not at all what I suggested.
We believe we can make it lighter and more flexible than before.
Tim, you already tried that, remember? 2018, jerry-rig everything.
Thanks to the power of these new advanced OLED displays, we're gonna make the 13-inch iPad Pro even thinner than an iPod Nano.
Don't do that.
And for only $1,800, you're going to love it.
Tim, that at least comes with a storage bump, right?
I've said too much. Goodbye.
No. Alright, so 9to5Mac actually got the dimensions of the next generation iPad Pros, and even the larger new iPad Air coming out, and they've been pretty reputable, especially when it comes to leaks that are close to the launch of things. You always gotta be skeptical when there's a leak that's talking about something that hasn't come out for, another 6 to 9 months, but the new iPads are long overdue, okay? Apple didn't give us any iPads in 2023, so I believe since the inception in 2010 of the original iPad, this is the longest we've ever gone without a single iPad hardware drop. So it's to be expected that we're very likely going to get some new iPads at a spring event in maybe late March. Hopefully earlier, though. Come on, Apple, we've been waiting. And the crazy thing about these new dimensions definitely has to come down to the thickness, which is somewhat very impressive from an engineering standpoint, while simultaneously being quite terrifying, knowing what happened the last time Apple made a very thin 2018 iPad Pro. I owned it and it was fine for me, but it made headlines, and not in a good way. So that iPad that everybody knows as being the first folding one, that was 5.9 millimeters, okay? And because of that larger surface area, it was very easy to flex because you could just put some books on it or sit on it. I don't know what the heck you guys are doing with your tablets, but it snapped, okay? And that was a big concern, right? Well, apparently this new OLED 13-inch iPad Pro, which is rumored to be far more expensive, M3 chip inside it probably isn't going to be helping with that either. 3nm architectures, they're not cheap. But 9to5Mac saying now it's going to be just 5 millimeters thick. The current, M2 iPad Pro is around 6.4 millimeters thick. So this is actually quite a substantial reduction in overall width on a fairly large device. And again, this is very expensive, which is why the durability may be a concern. However, I have an idea, okay? I don't have a source. I think the primary reason Apple is focusing so much on making the iPad as thin as possible, yes, even thinner than the last iPod Nano, which is 5.4 millimeters thick. Oh my god, it's nuts to picture how thin this thing's gonna be. You could probably cut bread with it, but the main reason I actually think they're making it so thin, and so many of you are probably already like, why not you just make the battery bigger? Why does a tablet need to be this thin? Nobody asked for that. We also know that there's a redesigned Magic Keyboard case accessory that's been in the works for quite some time, likely no longer relying on that stupid, cheap folio cover material that we've been using for years that wears out so fast, collects all the oils and smudges, and then tears. It's just not a great material. There's been talk for a while now that Apple's working on a new Magic Keyboard case design that will be more premium, maybe more expensive, knowing Apple, but also rely on a more aluminum enclosure and have a more MacBook-like feel to the keyboard and trackpad accessory. And if it's going to be a lot more metal involved, that means it's similar to the existing Magic Keyboard case accessory. This thing is going to be docking onto the back of your iPad and likely adding a ton of weight. And Apple probably knows most people who buy the iPad Pros, they've got more money than sense, so they end up buying all of the fancy accessories. And because it's the Pro iPad with all the Stage Manager features and Thunderbolt ports and all that, this Magic Keyboard accessory is probably going to have a fairly high take rate. And iPads have always had a very high take rate in regards to their stands and keyboard cases and accessories, because ever since the beginning, they've never been able to rock a kickstand on these things. So you need some way to prop it up anyway. You might as well have a keyboard and trackpad attached and pretend you have a laptop. You're spending MacBook kind of money, so you should get MacBook style functionality. And I think this new keyboard case that's going to be more premium and require more metal is going to add additional weight if they kept the thickness of the iPad Pro the same. So they're trying to make it blend in a little bit better. So obviously, yeah, if you don't plan on buying a keyboard case, then buying a 5 millimeter thickness on an iPad Pro feels feels a little weird. Why does it need to be so thin? Why does it need to be so light? But on a lighter note, Steve Jobs would be proud. He was always in favor of making tech thinner and lighter. However, he probably wouldn't have wanted the 13-inch display anyway. But the good news is even the smaller iPad Pro, which should be relatively more affordable, is also getting thinner along with its bigger brother. 9to5Mac saying it's going to be measuring in at 5.1 millimeters, so just a tad bit thicker, but still thinner than the existing 11-inch iPad Pro, which is currently at 5.9 millimeters. So once again, good knife accessory if you need to cut cheese or bread or butter, whatever it is. Also, with these much lighter designs and all the magnets in the back, they should make for some pretty great fridge magnets. You just throw them on the fridge and they'll probably stay there. The only iPad that's rumored not to be as crazy thin as the new Pros with their new OLED displays is the upcoming 12.9-inch iPad Air, which is basically just a slimmed down version of the existing 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Probably just have a M2 chip instead of M3. Won't be OLED, won't even be 120 hertz, which is gonna hurt for all of those Apple Pencil users out there, but they gotta keep the Pro around for some reason, right? But that new iPad Air is still measuring in at about 6 millimeters, so it sounds like they're kind of recycling the design of the current 12.9-inch iPad Pro for that now cheaper iPad Air. I'm hoping it clocks in at $800 or less, but knowing Apple and the fact that they've never had a bigger screen iPad like this before, yeah, they could up it to $900. Please don't. iPad lineup's as distorted as it is. The least you could do is make them more affordable, please. But what do you guys think of these new dimensions and the iPad being even thinner than before? I can already see the Jerry Rig Everything video. Oh my god, that poor expensive OLED iPad doesn't stand a chance against that dude's biceps. So pray for those tablets because their backs are going to be broken. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. It seriously helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. This is your Upsheep here, and I will see you all in the next one.